And so it has begun. Welcome, one and all, everybody to the stream. Look like we got Morale Officer Duran joining us down there. And of course, our own Black Knight, always making sure you're not alone
Hello.
down there. Uh, today is
Hello.
a today is a special day. We got a very literary topic to tear apart. And in the background, we're actually talking food as well. And I cut off Maji. I'm sorry, Maji. You were saying something back
Oh no,
there.
you're good. I was about to say most Eastern Europeans I know are the biggest spice pansies, so you can't really have true Mexican food there.
Mm,
Ooh, that's
yeah,
interesting.
we love our hot foods.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
if it's not hot, we don't eat it.
Uh, Prove
I
what? Or I
imagine.
didn't see it.
Sometimes you have these like hot. Um, you could say that for you they look like burger patties, but they're not. Um, and they are like the standard recipe is um, with really hot combination of like a combination of different hot peppers in the meat, and then people on top of that they add like chili sauce or some other hot sauce, and on the side you have like fresh hot peppers, green or red. And on the side.
Oh, sorry.
So, yeah.
That's believe it or not, I'm not that big into spice. I know. I get it a lot from other Latin people within my community. That's like a general offense, but I live up to it. I
How
live up
that
to it. Oh yeah. That was like a rite of passage growing up. You had to bite into a hot pepper. That's like an unwritten rite of passage amongst the youth. If you could do it, you were the man.
Oh man. So I have a lot of Asian influence around here just because of where I live. And I got introduced to, I think it's a Southern Korean thing. It's called yapuki, which is rice noodles in a hot chili sauce. Oh man, I like my heat, but that's almost like next level insufferable if you're not careful and put too much chili sauce on it.
yes. I've tried some of the like imported Korean packaged noodles. They have these like spicy sauces, um, and I don't think it was. I think it was something bad in it. Maybe it was probably it was like over the expiration date, because it was the taste was really strange. It's like, yeah, of course it was hot, but like it had this like strange metallic taste to it. So we stopped eating it just to be sure. So yeah, I know. It's like
The dangers of overseas packaged food.
yeah. But anyways, tonight, sadly, Miss Snow is unable to join us because she's a bit sick. We
I hope
hope
she
that
gets better.
she gets better. Yeah, Texas chili.
Oh no, man,
Uh,
nothing beats a green chili. That was one nice thing about going because I went to the Drink with Crazy barbecue.
oh, you did.
We stopped by Ohio State University's little college town there, and it was called Bluebird Diner. Had like some of the best green chili, but it was very mild for green chili that I had tried. So part of me really liked the flavor, another part of me is like, I need the heat.
Um, I'm told they use like to add a lot of sugar to the chili,
Some
which
people do,
is
some people don't. Like,
it's
okay,
not
so
good.
you know what Landjägers are, right, Black Knight?
Yeah,
German hunting sausages.
yeah.
Well, traditional Landjägers is literally just meat. Well, if you're not careful here in the U.S., like if you're looking at recipes and stuff, for some reason they add a lot of like molasses and brown sugar to it. Even though I like the
Uh,
traditional, and there's only one brand that I've found in the U.S. It's actually called Bavarian Meats that doesn't add sugar to it.
yeah, sugar. No, just no.
That's an unfortunate thing with a lot of food products these days. Even ones you don't expect to have sugar, have
Mhm.
sugar. But with that said, let's actually we almost skipped introductions. So
Well,
welcome everybody in chat. And Black Knight, please introduce yourself and what have you been up to lately?
Well, I'm not your neighborhood's average Black Knight. I'm the distant overseas secret garden varieties Black Knight. Jokes aside, I've been wrapping up a number of projects which were planned for this year, and I'm happy to say that I did almost all of them except one. And right now, I'm completing the last bits of reformatting and edits for one of my older books. So today, since the current Substack project was completed last week, I've been doing nothing but tedious and boring edits. Though some of the chapters I've edited were anything but boring. So I at least at least had this going on, and the coffee and omelette du fromage, which I cooked for sustaining my little gray cells with some slices of cured salted pork.
that sounds good. I
Oh
like
yeah.
salted pork though.
How do they prepare the salted pork where you're from?
Well, it's covered with salt and spices, and the normal salted pork has a lot of hot chili, dried hot chili, um, all over it, and then you just poke a hole through it. You tie a string, and you let it rest for a month or month and a half in your basement. Has to be dry, of course. Um, Otherwise, it will not be. It's not going to be good. So yeah, it's a common thing that we have, let's say, with uh, the Italians and um, the different types of ham that are prepared almost in the same way. And this salted pork, it's mostly fat, um, mostly fat, which is really good for your brain. You need the fat for the
Nice,
brain
nice.
cells.
Get fat for the brain. I presume because we were talking in the back end when it comes to Star Shatter, your book series that you write, that you pull a lot of real world cuisine. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. I
No,
even
I,
made a recent post on Substack, which a bunch of my newest readers asked me to write for them. It's a recipe, a sandwich recipe, and it's also in your glorious sandwichness in your honor. So
Yay for me.
you could I mean, it's of course it's a fictional um, world, but the recipe can be replicated with real ingredients. So it's not. It's actually, by the way, the Necthu plant, which Luthorians farm, and they grind the pods, the seeds into flour. It's somewhat similar to corn. If corn was like 10 feet tall and had giant pods, um, yeah, yeah, it's a wonderful plant. But I guess you could make like a neck to bread from corn flour and regular flour, combine them. So yeah,
Very interesting. And
if
joining
if you
us,
like, you can check it later. And
yeah, it's all on the Substack. You can find the link down below. I
yeah,
believe. Let me make. I'll double check that before the end of the stream. But joining us today, actually, is our special guest, uh, substituting for Lady Snow, who unfortunately is a bit under the weather, like myself. I'm coming. I'm coming up. I'm on the up and up from being under the weather. I still got the sniffles, but I'm getting better each day. But joining us is Maji-Chan. How are you doing,
hey,
Maji? And what are you up to these days?
not much. I forgot I was level 1 in this game, and so I tried to just fight at level 12. It didn't end well.
Ah, that sounds like a fun story arc, though.
Well, I haven't I haven't loaded this game in so long. I forgot what level
because
and
this
character I
is
was
like
on.
is this
This is
uh
Oblivion,
yeah, it's Oblivion. Yeah,
the
I
precursor to Skyrim.
to Skyrim. Yeah. Have you tried Sky Oblivion?
No, that's a computer DLC.
No. It's Sky Oblivion is the it's a full um, recreation of Oblivion, but in with the engine of uh, Skyrim, and
Yeah,
it's
that's
made.
a
Yeah.
PC DLC. I don't have that
No, it's I think it's like a free mod. You can grab it.
on PC.
Yeah, pretty much. All good things are on PC.
I have no damage as a level 1.
Yeah.
I don't even think
Uh,
I'm wearing pants by the looks of it.
the beginning of the journey, there are no pets,
There are no pants.
Yeah.
which
Oh
might
yeah, I
actually
am
be
not wearing pants.
which is, in my opinion, could be a very interesting book. Which brings us into today's literary topic. I figured we'd eventually get around to it, but today we are
Yeah.
talking about a setup and payoff.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and tell us, because this was your choice right here.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
inspired you to choose this one?
Uh, a lot of things inspired me. Mostly some of the latest um, failures that I've seen. I I admit I did attempt to watch the first episode of the second season of The Rings of Power.
Oh, why?
It was I don't know. A friend asked me to analyze for her a scene, analyze the scene for her, and I foolishly accepted. And then I came to the sudden and quite terrible realization that this is it was made by people who had literally no idea what they were doing. Had no setups, no payoffs, no nothing. It was just slop, which uh, urged me, and because I needed to cleanse my soul from the damage that I had inflicted myself to myself, and I popped the old Blu-rays of Lord of the Rings, and I watched the first movie. And even though we are talking about different mediums, it's not a piece of literature. It's a movie, so Peter Jackson had to do something like to tweak stuff, change a thing here and a thing there, which caused some how should I put it mildly, it caused some rage, so to speak, back in the day, but it's nothing compared to what they're doing now, which is total desecration. They just it's just a skin suit. And to get to the point which I'm trying to make is that if you do not know your world building, if you do not have like even just a moderately established world building, and you don't have it, then in many cases a lot of the setups, if you're trying to even make them, they will not be as successful as if you did even a little world building, and then you have your characters, which for them to grow, for them to have like a satisfying end. And by end, I'm not talking that I'm not mentioning that have to kill them like Ron Martin, kill all the characters. It's it's almost a prerequisite to do something, to have something planned, to know them. You just don't like slap things together and check boxes and say, "Oh, this will be the roguish jokester," and that's it. Or how we have now in current day, this character has this sexual orientation, or this character has this or that skin color, and therefore that's all they are. That's what defines them. It's not a good way uh, to begin setting up the setups for the payoffs later in your story, if they even try to do. But they are trying. I mean, you can. I could see that someone had made an attempt in the first season of the Ranks of Power. They made like a quite a sloppy attempt to do some setups, which it was a failure because they botched their entire world building. They have nothing to stand on. It was painful to watch, and then to even try to analyze it. It's just like you're losing, you're killing your brain cells. But in like in the usual case, when you're setting up something, your goal is to deliver your readers, your viewers, your players. In case of game developers, your goal is to deliver a satisfying payoff. Meaning that you will have to use that setup and not just forget about it, like in many of the current games and TV series and movies. They show you something and they don't use it. Like they waste time, which is like for a movie or a game is a sin, because this time costs a lot of money. And they don't do anything with it. But in our case, let's say that we have a foundation to stand on, which is your world building. You have some basic stuff, and to have like you don't actually need 1,000 setups. You need just a few. You need probably some sort of a dramatic setup, which depends on the genre that you're working with. Some allow for more, others less. Then you will have to probably have some like let's say satisfying to achieve some satisfying battle payoff. You will have to do some let's say warfare setups, or combat setups, which you could use with your character craft, with the growth of your characters, and of course your villains, if you do so choose. And without going into too much detail, it's not rocket science. You just don't have to go that far and attempt to pull some like, yes, I'm going to subvert my readers' expectations, or the other gobbledygook buzzwords, because you're not creating this to wow the Hollywood critics. You like in our case, we have our readers, our viewers, who are normal, rational people, and they want to be entertained. They don't want. Sometimes you don't want, like in most cases, you don't want your expectations subverted. You expect, let's say, justice to be done. You expect the vile villain to get theirs, to face justice. You'd probably expect at least one or two of the protagonists to have some sort of like a good ending, to like a reward for their efforts and their sacrifices. Otherwise, it's boring, and mostly it's insulting the reader. Um, why are they like? Why are they even reading or watching this or playing this when in the end they get nothing? They get some like schlop. She's like, yes, everything is doomed. You're doomed. Yes, it's um, here you go, and they shove like uh, a huge slice of rotting nihilism in your gob. It's like, swallow it. That's what you get, and then they wonder why they fail.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of that lately, and I guess you can say that the whole subversive tactic is almost like the anti setup and payoff, because you set up and instead of paying it off, you kind of just pull the rug from underneath your audience, which at times does work, but when it seems to be in in current state of things across multiple mediums in both um, let's say video games, movies, and literature. I think we've been seeing a lot of this. And
Yes, but a twist like a normal twist, it's a good thing. You
yeah,
can use it to let's say surprise the reader. But they're not doing that.
no, not at all. But it also seems to be very much bloated to where it's almost expected at times. And like you said, a twist every now and then is good. But when all you're getting is twists from seemingly everywhere, it gets tiresome.
Yeah. What do you think, Paji?
Um. Okay, so I do like twists every now and then, but I get what you're saying because unfortunately, especially now and more times, you see a lot of. I kind of make fun of this because in my book, you see mystery box theater. You end up with a MacGuffin. You have no idea what it is. You take it with you, but then you never learn what the hell it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you. So, oh, I got an example. One of the movies as a kid, they made it this point to have this big old scene. It was one of those like high school movie situations, but
Mm.
they made it the point to like there was a whole 10-minute scene of the movie of following the rules. You know, so like no going out past curfew, all of this. Same like with Harry Potter.
Mhm.
This is actually a good side by side comparison here. Well, the main character of the movie not only broke the rules, but she broke all of them in a single night. And then the whole time I was watching, I'm like, okay, so when is the consequences for this going to happen? When are we actually going to see? You know, why spend 10 minutes laying out all these rules of
Yeah,
what not to do at this?
waste money because that's a movie. They have to pay the actors. They have to, you know.
But they never had the payout scene. Like it was just, oh yeah, we wasted the scene, 10 minutes of the movie
Which is a
for
lot.
no
A
consequences.
lot. 10
And then you
minutes of a
turn
movie
around.
is a lot.
Then you turn around and have Harry Potter, where they had a similar scene. You know, in the very first Harry Potter movie, The Sorcerer's Stone, they're like, "Hey, don't do this. Don't be
Which
out
was
past
arguably
dark."
the best one.
But everything they did had consequences to the point that it almost cost them the cup, the house cup. So it was a perfect contrast between the two. So you had this movie, both movies established a set of rules. Both movies said, hey, there's going to be consequences, and both spent about the fair amount of time on consequences. Well, I was so distracted wondering what's going to happen with the one movie where I'm like, okay, what's going to happen? She violated all these rules. And guess what? Nothing happened. It was like a pointless scene. The plot was pointless. Like everything they had worked so hard to establish meant absolutely nothing.
Yep. Yep.
And then Harry Potter, the exact opposite. I mean, they were out past dark. Even Draco went and reported them. Spoiler alert. And even Draco got in trouble because he too was violating the rules. So it led into a whole nother scene that actually progressed the story. That was the wrong door. But so it's that kind of situation where, in terms of everything the way it is, if you're going to take the time to establish something, you need to follow up on it, because then it's not a twist. It doesn't subvert the expectations. If anything, it kills the believability of your story.
Yeah, it ruins like any plot beats that you've had going, and the story is like progression and advancement. You screw it up.
Yeah, you mess with the agency of things. But we actually just got a question down here from Moral Officer Graham. In the history of literature, has this happened before? Is it totally a new thing? What do you guys think?
Which part?
I believe she was talking about earlier when we were speaking of just the fad of continuously subverting tropes.
Oh, that one. I have no room to talk. I have a couple of tropes in my story, but at the same time, tropes exist for a reason.
Yeah, tropes exist for a reason. Tropes are your friend. I even had, excuse me, I even wrote once, like I think 2 years ago, an essay on the tropes. So it's yeah, tropes are they're useful. It's not that you have to constantly subvert the tropes, which some erroneously assume that's what they have to do. But I mean, you could do stuff with the tropes. You could like fiddle around, dance around, but you have to be real careful. Otherwise, you may end up screwing up pretty bad. Like with certain trying to reinvent tropes which don't need reinventing. It's like they are trying to rediscover hot water or sliced bread, which is insane.
Here's how I view it. If you're going to use a trope, one, make sure it's not 100% predictable. And two, make sure you do it right. Because if you butcher that trope, like take a hero's journey, for example, there's kind of little bits of setups in there that you can't get away from. It is what it is. But at the same time, if you all of a sudden pull a freaking, we were talking about Martin, a Game of Thrones situation where, oh yeah, guess what? Here's your hero's trope, but instead of hero's journey, we're actually going to root for the bad guys and be nothing but bad guys. That's going to piss a lot of people off.
Yeah,
because a lot of people like the hero's journey. I mean, that's one of those tropes that is extended throughout every freaking culture, throughout time, mythologies. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, there is a hero's journey in someone's culture. There's a reason for that. That trope means something to a lot of people. So if you're going to take that on, you got to make sure, one, you're not butchering it, and two, you got to make it in a way that doesn't get cliche. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
You are making sense. Yeah. I mean, cliches, okay.
To an extent.
They're
Come
okay
on,
to an
some
extent.
originality.
Yeah.
But it's one of those that, like I said, there's nothing wrong with or with taking on tropes, but okay, this isn't a trope, but here's an example. Chronicles of Narnia. Chronicles of Narnia, everybody knows, is a Christian allegory. There's no way around it, because even the author said it's a Christian allegory, right? Well, Netflix is taking on Chronicles of Narnia, but they're trying to make it new for a modern audience. And from the sounds of it, like, they're taking it from the oldest sister's point of view. I forgot her damn name. Pardon my language. But they're making it about a rock band. So they're basically crossing Chronicles of Narnia with heavy metal punk girl rock band Gem from the 80s. I'm sorry, that's not Chronicles of Narnia. If you're going to be taking on something, if you're going to be taking on something, especially something as iconic as that, I know we were talking about tropes, but this is kind of the same situation. You need to do it with respect to what it is, or what its origin is. Nothing's wrong with trying to add a little bit of twist to making your own. Look at Lion King versus Romeo and Juliet. Lion King, the original animated, not the live action, that one's garbage. The original animated Lion King is Romeo and Juliet, but they made it unique enough in the style that was their own that they still stayed true to the Romeo and Juliet thing and actually paid homage to it, but still adapted it enough to make it unique in their own.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think what we're seeing a lot of is like tropes, if you will, are like a type of tradition. And as we've all been, discussing, even on different streams, that it's kind of like an infection of wokeness. Has to embrace that which goes against tradition. And I think that's what we see in all this unearned subversion. That's what I'll call it, because that's what happens when you continuously subvert things, you change things up, but it rings hollow. It's completely deflated. It doesn't make anything interesting. And in itself, it creates all brand new tropes, because what we're seeing is a bunch
which doesn't work, and they don't work.
Yeah, which is why they're not going to last. They're not going to last. They're almost like a fad more than anything.
Okay, let's take Star Wars, for example. The Star Wars. So you got New Hope. New Hope was popular. It resonated with people. You had the young boy wanting to be more, the farm boy that just wanted to do more with his life. You had the princess who's trying to save her people, the planet destruction, all of that. Then the freaking Star Wars sequels came out. I forgot what the name of the first movie was, but it was New Hope.
The Phantom Menace.
No. The other one, the one with Rey, whatever her name is.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that one. But it was New Hope 2.0. It was exactly New Hope, but it didn't resonate any of the New Hope tropes. It didn't resonate any of the feeling or the heroism or the hope. It was just butchered.
Yeah,
So at that point, even though it's, if you compare it side by side and look at the notes, it is the same story. But at the same time, it isn't the same story. And it's not because it's just a hack,
because it's lame.
because they ruined what made it that adventurous story to begin with.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm gonna die here. I ran out of.
Yeah, that's something that we've unfortunately seen over the last decade now in all forms. And lately, what I've seen is the androgynous female who looks like a man, which in itself,
That's
Yeah.
the
I
yeah,
hate that so much. I'm sorry. I do not swing that way. Okay, I like my guys. Gotta admit it. Show me a hot guy any day. I'm down. But I mean, guys could say the same thing about women. So, but why masculize women? Women are unique for a reason. Women and men are different from each other because they can do things the other cannot. And a true powerful woman is not one that just mansplains. It is one that can still maintain her femininity, her beauty, and command in a way that can draw attention. Like Lord of the Rings. I know a lot of Arwen's scenes in the movie was improvised by Peter Jackson. They weren't exactly the book. But she still had that stage presence. She still commanded that respect, that beauty that you would expect from a female elf, and was able to control the scenes that you didn't even think twice that she just took a scene from a different character, because they did it in a way that matched her in the book.
Yes, and the thing with them is that they were portrayed as just like Tolkien's elves, were ethereal, more spiritual beings than actual beings, even though they could die. But they had this like these etherealness to them, this fey quality to them. And if you remember that scene when that was yet another of the great setups in the movie, was where when Frodo first saw her, he was dying because he was stabbed by a Morgul blade.
Mm-hmm.
And because he was in between the worlds, he was like almost fading away. His spirit was nearly left the body. He actually saw her spirit, and she was like this angelic being with an aura, like a white glowing aura coming from her, like emanating from her. And that was great, because later when they met with the real Galadriel, not the fake Galadriel from the Rings of Power.
Mm-hmm.
You could you could see the glorious payoff when Frodo offered her the ring and said, like, I will give you the ring, and she had this moment, this test, which she passed the test, and she was like almost, even though she was one of these, like one of the most powerful, one of the most powerful females in the entire Middle Earth. Remember, she was older than the sun and the moon. And you could see how this angelic light that they like, these beings, the elves, and their etherealness, you could see how, because it was well set up, you saw the payoff. You had this payoff, watching her shift for a moment and become this deathly fish creature, which is like the almost the polar opposite of what Arwen was. Yeah.
So I know the Hobbits movies are terrible. They are absolutely terrible.
Yeah, they're shit.
However, the one scene I liked in the Hobbit movies, I don't even remember which one it is. Well, okay, there's two. I like the dwarven armies in the extended version of the last one. But
yeah, but their tactics were shit.
Oh yeah, no, but the one scene that still sticks to me out of all the movies, I don't even remember which movie it was because I blocked it all out of my memory, except for the scene, is where Galadriel is walking in a pure white dress, barefoot, to go save Gandalf, and she kicks Saruman's ass just by her magic. She's walking barefoot in a land full of demons, orcs and death, and she's still this beautiful creature of grace and beauty, and she's strong enough to banish Saruman back to his lands. And it's just that one image is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect time to transition a bit. We've been talking a lot about the failures of modern day filmmaking and literature, and how they've been kind of messing up the setups and the payoffs. What are some good examples of setup and payoff done correctly, which obviously Maji kind of opened up with?
Well, there's so many. Okay, so I swear I'm not a Lord of the Rings junkie. In fact, it's been a few years since I watched it, but Lord of the Rings was done so well in both the books and the movies that everything had a consequence. Everything had a payoff. You weren't left with watching something or even reading something going, wait, what happened to this part? The closest thing to that would be Tom Bombadil, and that's just because Tolkien threw him in there just to throw him in there. But that's the one thing I hate with a lot of modern, quote unquote, modern stuff now. There isn't any. A lot of it is useless time wasting that doesn't go anywhere. So
pretty much. No, you're right. Yeah, that's.
I don't know. Maybe I answered that question wrong.
Well, I don't think you did. How about you, Black Knight? What are some of your favorite setups?
I could add something which is from not a fantasy or science fiction per se, just fiction, adventure with pirates. It's one of the older books, older from past century. It's I don't know if you read about that character. It's a corsair called Sandokan. But
I don't think I have.
Yeah, but so he's introduced as this betrayed, downtrodden prince from the Malaya Islands, Malaya Archipelago, whose kingdom was stolen by corrupt British Raj, and he became this vigilante, this corsair who strikes fear into the heart of the corrupt, and he somehow always finds a way to defeat them. And you have this like uh, you have this almost like Conan-esque setup of him, his inner rage, which he displays um, almost not constantly, but in every suitable and awesome way that it could be used, but because it's the core of this character. Let's say his defiance of the typhoons while he's captaining one of his ships, or well, he's attacked by a tiger. Well, in his case, he fucking attacks the tiger because he's so it's like, yeah, that's his thing. And in the end, you have this, you have him finally get the like finally rescue the girl. He saves her, and when he holds her, he says like, uh, "I'm dead. I'm I'm dead." And at first, you're kind of like, but he's not wounded. He's not shot. Like he's not stabbed. He's not poisoned. Not nothing. He's like he's alive. No, because when he finally got her, he is described as it's like already a changed man, because this rage, this constant rage, when he would literally leap and strangulate a tiger with his bare hands and stab it to death with his dagger. Uh, he can no longer do this. He can no longer beat that man. That man is dead. And it was well made. That was a great payoff. Great.
Excellent. All right, that slow transformation into a new being.
Yeah, yeah. And he was like, they don't. The author, he does not tell you. He's not like he's just showing you. Like there are some telltales through the dialogue, but they're not like slapping you in the face. They're not telling you, "Ooh, look at me, I'm changing now." No, no, no. You see that, like you see it, and it's understandable. It's a lesson about both manhood and womanhood. It's what's like, yes, you can be reckless when you don't have anyone dependent on you. You don't have kids, you don't have a wife. You're just this brash character, this like brave beyond measure character who could just like leap at a tiger and beat it to death with his bare hands, and you don't care. Or just sail your ship straight into the typhoon. You don't care. You just, haha, I can do it. Look at me. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the strength of captivating literature, and I think that's near the core of it is the setup and payoff. And I think for myself, one of my favorite actual examples comes from a movie, and that's the very first Tremors movie.
Oh, I forgot about it. Yes, yes.
And I like the setup of they don't necessarily know what these things are that are killing people around town, but these two gentlemen are just trying to leave town. And as they keep going, they keep running into bodies and essentially crime scenes. And they eventually come across this giant snake-like creature. They think this is what it is. They got these snakes running around there that no one's ever seen. And then they finally get out of town or near out of town, and then the ground starts moving beneath them. They think, oh, there it is. This is the first time we're going to see these snakes. and it turns out that it's all one gigantic creature, which I thought would be a magnificent payoff for anybody who has actually never seen that film before. That it's taking what you believe it to be, these slithering things, and then it turns it on its head, but still satisfyingly delivers with a very
Yeah, it
ominous
was nice.
creature.
It was so good. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a ton of them. Unfortunately, within the last couple of years, we've been stuck in this very hollow place when it comes to storytelling, which I fear may come from a lot of new creators who don't actually understand the tropes they're trying to subvert, or they're just given
Yeah,
more.
they destroy and they do not create anything of worth.
Yeah, yeah, they're just given more than they can chew, and you have this. In all forms of media now, video games, movies, it's in literature, popular Western literature. Um, Almost like these whole new set of tropes that aren't even satisfying to see play out.
Like the girl boss.
That's a big one. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
I'm sorry. I will take freaking a James Bond femme fatale any day over a freaking girl boss.
Yeah, but the femme fatale is actually it's a glorious trope. It's actually real. It works. It's something that works.
Exactly. I don't get where this girl boss trope came from. It
It came from subverting the masculine.
I get girls wanted to prove that they could be better than boys and whatnot and all that, but I'm sorry, friggin' Gladriel donning armor, running head on with a sword drawn. That's not how she was written.
Yeah, how dare you, you sexist?
Well, whatever. Like I said, I rather take a femme fatale any day than the bullshit that they've been giving us.
Well, a lot of
Yeah,
what they've been giving us hasn't necessarily been, I guess, like when you're writing. So all of us have written. Maji, you're working on stuff. I've written Black Knight. You've written. There's like a science behind it. You're trying to reach this balance, so things kind of
oh
flow
yeah,
well.
yeah, that's the
Characters
most
are
important.
believable. But you understand. The world feels alive. Um, and it's like these elements that try to add counteract a good story in general. It pulls away from um what am I trying to say here? Like it pulls away from the story's ability to engraft the reader. It becomes less universal, much more like a strange piece of fanfic, a really strange piece of fanfic. That's what it feels like we've been getting lately. Is just a lot of fanfic.
Hmm.
and
Well,
and and and
so
boring fanfic, boring.
okay, so for example here, well, we'll use this as an example. As you can tell, since I turn on my camera, I am a gamer. But so we'll take Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West. The main character is a female character. In fact, you start out the first game literally with her baby blessing. Like she's being lifted up into the sky and her name being shot out by the elders. So the first game, wonderful game. Oh man, I have spent way too many hours on that game. It's kind of got a native vibe to it. It's end of the world. What happens if machines take over situation and they have to go back to primitive instincts? Great character development. Great because she's learning from becoming this outcast to being accepted by society, but she's still very feminine. She's still, even though she's a mountaineer, she's still got that female physique. She's got the mindset. And nice thing is, you could even choose like the way her conversations go. You could choose if she thinks with her mind her heart, emotions. Like, you know, she's a believable character. Beautiful character too. Well played game. I actually liked it. Now, here comes Horizon Forbidden, or not Forbidden West, the new one, which you could actually Google search this. They physically changed her to look like a trans male. So this was an already established strong female character in every sense of the way, and they turned her to look like a red-headed fat guy.
Yeah.
And they gave her the girl boss attitude. They gave her, like, they completely redid her character. Same gameplay, just, you know, added on to the story, which left off. But I could not physically play it anymore because it wasn't Aloy. It was a whole nother character that they're like, all right, we're going to defeminize her, more masculine her. And they ended up making her look like a fat ginger. No offense to gingers.
Yeah.
And I could not physically stand it. Like, to me, it's not the same game. It's not the same character. I mean, she had a little bit of an attitude in the first one, but her attitude was justified because she was an outcast and considered basically a danger to society in the first game. But the second game, they just turned her into a girl boss. They lost all sense of any kind of female anything with her and just made her a total bitch face. Pardon my language. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's the thing when they see a piece of media which is normal and it's efficient and it's not towing their party line. They make everything, like every possible attempt to ruin it, subvert it, reimagine it for the quote-unquote modern audience, which in essence destroys all of the setups and payoffs from the first, let's say, the first game or the first movie or the first couple of books. That's a deliberate thing. That's what they do. But
here, hold on. Let me turn on a screen share so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, go ahead and show a screen share for me.
Yeah.
You see what they did to her? Like, they physically changed her. They made her shorter. They gave her a shorter neck. I mean, it wasn't even so much the design, but they made her personality absolutely unbearable.
That's what they did with that new Star Wars game, which was supposed to be like open world RPG. I forgot what it was called, but they had a really beautiful woman, an actress who was paid to be the the model for the character, and they absolutely ruined her. They made her really ugly. It's like the uglification. It reminds me, by the way, just now it reminds me of that really old game Quake, where you fought against these aliens called the Strog, and they had a process called Strogification, where they could take humans and then make them into versions of themselves. But yeah, I digress. So what was that stupid game? Let's see. Star Wars game. No. Star Wars game. Come on.
Sorry,
Uh,
I'm not trying to make like a protest on women in games and all that. So I hope that
yeah,
doesn't come
Star
out.
Wars Outlaws. It was called Star Wars Outlaws.
Oh well,
Mm.
yeah.
And when you go and compare, um,
No, it just I don't know. Certain payoffs are the way they are for a reason. I know we're kind of going in circles here, and I feel bad. It's just if you're gonna do tropes, if you're gonna put in the MacGuffins, if you're gonna do any of that, or if you already take established characters that people like, if you don't treat them with respect, there is no payoff. I guess is kind of where just
yeah,
trying to
pretty
get
much.
to in all this. Sorry, James, we keep going in circles. Squirrel.
Yeah, it's. I could give you an example. I mean, all of us we have pulled off any number of setups and payoffs, and it's different, like to a different degree. Um, James, can you click on that link that I just show it, if you can, in the private chat?
He might be AFK.
Yeah.
Or
No,
giving
But-
the
I'm
puppies
here.
some
I'm
loves.
here. I just never did the whole screen share thing. Maji, you know how to screen share, right?
I don't think I have any ability to do any of that.
Well, you just did it with your that other link, right? Right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Basically
But that was I went to present. Screen share is at the very bottom, and then I clicked on the tab I was on.
blah. There's a lot of buttons to look at. Give me a sec. I know I can add it to my OBS.
But where I was going with this was that really early on, when I was learning, and I'm still learning, mind you. But when I was learning like the super basics, I was told by an editor and a critic who once worked for a magazine. And she said that she was actively looking for, like, they had like these serialized stories which came out in each new weekly edition of their magazine, and she was actively looking and talking, like, to yeah, that's the picture. Just look them, Machi. Just look at that woman. Look at her, and try to compare that gorgeous woman with the um,
The
game
Dylan
character.
Mulvaney lookalike.
Ugh.
I should be respectful.
I don't know, but she told me that she was actively looking for this, and then she would uh, make sure that none of the like all the details, like the even if they, because they have like this magazine, you have word limit, of course. It's a publication. You can't go over the word limit. But she would make sure, because she was like the overall editor, and she would make sure that certain articles were shorter, and that she could fit these stories, like she could give them like a little bit more wiggle room, so that all the setups, like all the important elements of the setups, are there, and that she knew that their readers, they were collecting the magazines, and they would collect the magazines for their friends and the like families, family members. So once in a while you would get like these book clubs and like magazine clubs, and you would go there, and they would have like all the issues of the magazine year by year, and you could pick like, let's say, 7 magazines, and you will get all the setups from the beginning to the mid section of the story, and then all the payoffs in the end. And she said, like, this is probably one of the most important things, which if you do your job, like if you do it even on a basic level and deliver a satisfying, even a moderately satisfying payoff for your readers, you will succeed. And I can give you like an example from one of the stories from my first anthology, the short stories. Maji-Chan, which was your favorite? Or did you have a favorite story? I don't know.
I actually kind of liked. I think it was from your first anthology.
Yes.
The students exploring the planet for the first time.
Yes. And then there you have this like a pretty basic setup with all of their characters, all of their abilities, and how you have later, like in the mid and the last section of the story, you have this like, basic payoffs that you've already established it in the very, very beginning. You don't have to pull anything out of your hat, so to speak. And the reader is not unpleasantly surprised, startled. It's like, what the hell is this? Like, how did this happen? But probably one of the like, I should say, good, my one of my first good actual setups and payoffs was the whole shtick with that planet, and how and why it ended up like this. And if you remember, they had like an introduction in the first first chapter, where their teacher was like, yeah, these planets sometimes they end up like this because of this and that. And then there you have this, like, it's basic, it's bare bones because it's pulp science fiction. You can write thousands, like hundreds of pages. It's a short story, it's a serialized short story, a couple of chapters, just a few chapters, 3 or 4 very small chapters, 5 to 6 pages at best.
Yeah.
So you have to be sparing. So it's basic. You have it. You have this information. You have them talking about it. You have them showing you what's happened, and then when they actually in the end, when they actually have this reveal and this the things happen, and they stumble into the actual truth, the actual reality of what happened to that planet and how it happened, you're like, because you got clues throughout the story, and it gets even more satisfying. The payoff is even more satisfying. And that's I mean, if a nincompoop like me could do it, why aren't they? I mean, they have millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I was
And
literally fucking eating instant ramen and bits of scraps of food.
And you know what? That might have something to do with what Moral Officer Grant said earlier, and that was what are they teaching these kids in their schools? I think this may come from a bit of bad direction and bad literary learning. I know earlier this year, a young lady got her doctorate degree, well, based off of writing a paper that suggested that the the use of smells or scents.
Oh, the smells were racist. Yeah,
Yes, very very strong correlation there to this.
you have to be
Extreme.
really stupid.
Yes, this subversive, extreme critical thinking where everything tropish, which in itself can be seen as traditional, is rooted in something bad of the past. Therefore, it has to be undone. And such as the hero's journey, the 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 I guess you'd say whitewashing of a villain, making them seem more complex. Like, oh, they weren't the villain after all. Like taking away a bit of that dark edge.
I honestly blame Loki for that.
Oof, do you now?
Yeah.
So, okay, think about it. If you look at the timeline of when everything started to go weird in terms of sympathizing with villains, which don't get me wrong, people have been doing that for years, but it didn't become a mainstream trend until Loki from the Avengers stepped forward. And then after that, if you look at in the terms of timeline, all of a sudden, all the villains, people wanted to humanize them. They wanted you to sympathize with them and agree with them. Society had become so corrupt at that time that the guys writing the villains felt more like the villains than the heroes, which is why so many stories, I honestly think, fall flat now, is because that sense of moral agency is gone in terms of Hollywood, in terms of story writing, in terms of people forgotten the traditional values chasing the modern audience. Well, the modern audience
Doesn't
forgoes
exist.
all traditions in the first place, and in some ways, I'm not saying they're evil, but in some ways try to relate more to the villains because it's against the mainstream.
The hipsters. I believe that would be the terminology used by our friend, the man behind the scenes. I'm sure the Black Knight will be rejoining us momentarily. Probably has some connection issues. But when we're talking about setup and payoff, Wrangler said something that reminded me of a film I recently seen. A good twist is the introduction of a missing piece of information that recontextualizes everything. Setting up something that ends up going nowhere just sucks. Very much true.
I've always been a fan of like The Sixth Sense, where there's little hints throughout the story that you don't realize are even hints because it's so subtle. But when you get to the ending, you're like, holy crap, that all makes sense.
Very much so, which is why that sticks out as a legendary film of its time and is a perfect example thereof. The Sixth Sense, anybody doesn't know.
That's why I didn't say much about it.
Yeah, like at this point, I think most people know it because even like the whole "what a twist" thing because of the director and all that, it's like a meme in itself. But it's a good one, and if anybody hasn't seen it, watch The Sixth Sense. Completely leaves breadcrumbs all over the place about what's really going on, and then like straight from the beginning, and then at the end, it just wraps up into a perfect bow. And that was very much a similar film that I watched recently with what is the gentleman's name? It'll come back to me. Lance Hendrickson, which I don't see too many Lance Hendrickson films, but he was in a film called The Nature of the Beast, and it was very much one of those films where it's just continuously escalating with tension, and there's this ongoing, I guess you would call him serial killer, that is stalking our main character, and he knows that our main is set up in like the first half hour that our main character robbed a particular bank, and he feels this strange kindred relationship with him. So he follows him around and he makes him kind of watch as he does his thing. And then at the end, they pull this magnificent payoff that, like you said, completely recontextualizes everything. as soon as I was done watching the movie, I started it all over from the beginning with this new sense of what's actually going on here. And that is the ultimate payoff for setting things up, leaving that trail of breadcrumbs. It's to both actually subvert your audience and at the same time pay off everything you have been setting up. It's a lovely trick of the author that unfortunately we kind of see them trying to do but utterly fail at in the modern era. So whoever is teaching these so-called writers really needs to go back to school.
They are mystery boxing something which is supposed to be so simple.
Well, see, here's the thing. There is nothing wrong with writing a mystery box.
Yeah,
The
but
problem is if it
theirs
doesn't
is empty.
have a point.
Their mystery box is empty.
Because I hate to admit it, but there is a mystery box in the story I'm working on. But it has a point. It has a purpose. Red Knight, fetch. Black Knight knows it. He's read my rough draft.
Yeah, and I'm not spoiling it. But yours is it has stuff inside, which is relevant and moves the plot ahead. It's actually working. It's what it's supposed to be. And as mysteries go,
And no, it's not a map.
no, it's not. I mean, that was
That was a shot
that
at Star
was-
Wars.
yeah, that part of the movie is what that meme I can explain with the meme. Tell me you don't understand the world building of Star Wars, and you've never ever watched the first movies without telling me you never did all of this, because it's literally ludicrous.
Indeed.
It doesn't have to, like, it can't even exist because the Death Star was almost evaporated when it exploded.
Yeah, they ask you to bend your belief a lot in those films. They up to the point where they're just retconning things, which is a darn shame. That's something you want to stick away from, and maybe something we can talk about on another conversation, another stream.
Yeah, about retconning.
Well,
that's
like
something.
sequels, how to keep consistency between stories. You usually have to map things out pretty good for that. But we're on to our last 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and get some final thoughts out of you guys and where people can find you. Maji-Chan, any final thoughts and where people can find you? Maybe what you've been working on.
It's still at least about 6 months away, but it looks like hopefully, depending on how the next little bit goes, because I'm about 80 pages away from the rewrite being done. Hopefully by June I'll be ready to go. But you guys can always find me hanging out in the Drink with Crazy chat or on the Discord, or even check in every now and then. It hasn't been so much lately just because of the holidays, but check out Wrangler's show, Studio Frequencies Weekly Wing It. Sometimes I'll be a guest there. Kind of an enigma. I hop around. I don't really have a spot, but I don't plan on YouTube being my thing, so it's all right.
Any final thoughts on our subject matter tonight?
As long as there's a payoff, I don't see any problem with tropes. I don't see any problem with not even just payoff. As long as you're being respectful towards the tropes. Like I said, go ahead, alter things, make them unique, make them original. I mean, look what Lion King did to Romeo and Juliet. But at the same time, you still got to respect where it came from.
Yep.
Exactly. And speaking of respect, they actually just recently released a Mufasa origin story.
I refuse to see it because the commercial already changed the origins of Mufasa.
Yeah, it looked bad.
Mufasa, how dare you touch Mufasa?
Maybe
Yeah,
another example of what not to do. But
yeah.
Black
I'm
Knight,
sorry. It's like the one thing you learn about Simba's entire family line, they destroyed in the first 5 seconds of the Mufasa trailer. I'm good.
wow, yeah, that's a way to ruin the story with the sequel. But Black Knight, final thoughts and where people can find you, what you've been working on.
Well, final thoughts. I think I probably talked too much, rambled too much, but um,
Hamlet. It wasn't Romeo and Juliet. It was Hamlet. Romeo and Juliet was the second one. I'm like, that's not right. Sorry.
but this is probably what some of my what some of my readers attribute to why they like not just what I am working on, but many other indies, is that we deliver what we promised. We deliver, but we establish good setups and deliver satisfying payoffs. And even though we may not be shining like a freaking diamond, like we most of us, we cannot allow, like we cannot afford the so-called super professional industry insiders, and our books, they kind of look on the homemade side, but it's not how it looks, it's how it reads, and what you get in the end. That's what I'm going to say as my final words. And of course, you can find me on Substack, the Black Knight Substack. You can read poems, my serialized short stories there, and you can find me on Amazon. You can find all of the books from the Star Shuttle series there. You can grab any of the two or like four, like the additions to the Star Shuttle series, the two anthologies and the two Velen novellas there, and my latest, the newest 100% fantasy, old school fantasy book, Lord of Bones. So that's that.
Excellent, and thank everybody for joining us. Going to respect your time and head out here. If you want to find me, I do write short stories. I release them all on my Substack. That's worldwithoutendmore.substack.com. With that said, we are out of here, everybody. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day.